Why don't I have a good sealed collection?
Because you never buy any boxes.
But the prices are so high.
You have to get it at some point.
Which one should I get?
This one.
No way, that's $200.
But that's how it works.
I just want the really good ones.
Like this?
Yes, that's so valuable.
But it wasn't always.
How do you know when to get one?
I'm telling you to get this one now.
No way I'm paying that much for one box.
Today's prices are tomorrow's discounts.
Tomorrow's discounts are today's bankruptcy.
Today's bankruptcy is tomorrow's retirement fund.
Tomorrow's retirement fund should not be a children's card game.
And I am back, ladies and gentlemen, and let's get started with today's episode, which I think is going to be good. So today's episode is going to be inspired by this little TikTok short by Deoxys, but also by other content creators that have been talking about this hobby, and that is going to be retirement. And we're talking about retirement using Pokemon. And honestly, I can see it. A lot of people are really jumping into the hobby, mostly for the fact that they know how much money there is in this hobby. And they think they can probably retire off of it. But look, hey, look. Like, what do you mean by retirement? Like, what do you mean by retirement? Like, there is a lot of things that if you really want to retire, like retire, in order to retire comfortably from Pokemon, like using Pokemon, you're going to have to be doing this for a good long time. And I don't think the people are going to have the diamond hands, the balls to stay in this hobby that long term in order to retire, to like literally retire. And we're talking about past the age of whatever, where they're not really working anymore and they have a livable income coming in on a monthly basis, where they don't have to go to work, where they can take care of their health. Like they have like some way to take care of their health insurance, of their family's health insurance, of putting their kids through college. Like whenever we're talking about retirement, like look, buying one or two Pokemon Center ETBs booster boxes of the current modern era is probably not going to get you there, if we're going to be completely honest. But yeah, so and like this topic has been a little hot right now, like this last week, and you had people kind of like Twice Baked Jake not only talk about it in the car lounge, but he made it his own dedicated video on his channel. And I'm not saying like he's coming off as braggy, right? But he made his own channel about his collection and about how he could pay off his house, which honestly he totally should, right? But you guys, I don't think your guys' collection, not everyone's collection is up to that level. But there's, I think, certain goals, certain things that you should be doing so you guys can go ahead and, I guess, retire using this hobby. But look, Twice Baked Jake talked about it. Even whenever it was not a phase, having that interview with PokeRef, which honestly, to me, look, an outsider looking in, like, congratulations to it was never a phase. He's kind of getting timed by some of these bigger content creators doing interviews and like I guess like little episodes with them, but it really didn't seem like PokeRev was fully invested in that interview, and he was just giving them like one or two sentences answers and kind of keep it moving. Like, good on you, it was never a phase. But I wish honestly maybe PokeRef would have given you a little bit more like enthusiasm for your audience and for your channel, because I think, I'm not saying that he deserves it, but he is taking time out of your day. So I mean, respect goes both ways, but that's just an outsider looking in. I don't even know, I don't really watch PokeRef's contents, to be honest. I just know who he is because my friends watch him. But you know, it just seems so off. Like that interview seems so off, genuinely off. But retirement, right now, the hobby is extremely hot. Well, kinda, right? Kinda. We're talking about, like, for the most part, right now, in the current sets that are coming out, it's either Ascended Heroes, Distant Rivals, Prismatic Evolutions, but honestly, it's just Ascended Heroes, and nothing compares to Ascended Heroes. And, you know, outside from that, in the Mega Evolution age or era, Phantasmal Flames is the Charizard or bust, right? Perfect Order is a total bust, but I see it's a fantastic opportunity to buy some decent position into a set right now at MSRP. Chaos Rising, we will see how it does. I still think it's going to be a bust as well. It's going to be a Mega Greninja or bust. And we haven't even seen the cards for Abyss Eye or Pitch Black, right? I always talk about those sets. But I do see an opportunity for some of you guys who grade with tag to potentially make some money down the road, especially as we're about to enter one of the, I guess you could say, one of the most printed eras that we're ever going to have. And like I'm talking about, we already discussed that we're going to get a new printing facility in 2026. Pokemon is working on a direct distribution company to supply these big retail stores here in the Western Hemisphere, here in the United States, right? But if it all happens according to their plans, then we are probably going to start seeing a lot more Pokemon retail product on shelves. And the way that I see Tag taking advantage of this, or graders through Tag and trying to set themselves up for retirement, is not necessarily great hoarding sealed product, but maybe grading some of these more modern popular cards and making sure that you have the mintiest cards out there using that tag score system. Because we talked about it last channel, right? If you saw it, sorry, we talked about it in the last episode. In the last episode, we were talking about there's a possibility, or there's going to be some companies, they are grading PSA 10 cards. They're giving a subgrade. Like, if this PSA 10 really a PSA 10? That's ridiculous, right? You shouldn't have to put an extra grade on top of it to see if that 10 is really a 10, right? And is PSA even going to sell those cards on the PSA vault, right? But with the mass, like the level of rating that has exploded, PSA has taken control of the grading market, right? Making it accessible for the general masses, having a dedicated like store on eBay's vault, and some of their slabs always selling for some of the highest prices. Tag is doing fairly well, considering that you have to submit your cards individually or personally, but now they're getting some submission centers, right? They still don't have anything compared to eBay's PSA vault. I think another thing that Tag needs to do is establish a website, a service where people can go ahead and auction off their slabs to the same level that PSA does on eBay's PSA vault. I think that's something that Tag is missing right now, that doesn't have the support, right? But we talked about it too, that some of these cards, that some of these new modern cards with low population numbers through Tag, whenever we're looking at the day reports at the score, they're selling for more than PSA 10 prices. Don't even get me started with the pristine 10 copies. Tag 10 pristine copies sell almost at the same level or value than Beckett Black Labels. So if we're looking at a future where TCG cards are going to be so accessible, they're going to be abundant, the only way that you're really going to capitalize and make some money to possibly retire is going to go ahead and be grading through Tag and getting the best score possibles in your collection. But then afterwards, you want to go ahead and hold on to those cards for an extremely long time. We're talking about 10 years plus, so they go ahead and appreciate, right? And that's going to be for like some of these cards are going to end up being the most iconic cards of those generations. Like right now in the Scarlet and Violet era, it was a conversation that a lot of people were having before. Is like, what is the Scarlet and Violet era's most iconic card? People were saying it was the Umbreon. I honestly believe that it's the Bubble Mew from Paldea Fates. That was probably the most iconic card. But there were some top contenders too. The Magikarp from is it Paldea Fates? No, Paldea Evolve is also a fantastic art rare card. Of course, Bubble Mew, Team Rocket's Mewtwo from Distant Rivals. But you know, if we look at Ascended Heroes, that Team Rocket's Mewtwo is kind of rivaling or closing up to the same price of Team Rocket's the other Distant Rivals Team Rocket's Mewtwo. So all these cards, all these chase cards are probably not, there's only going to be a couple few of them that are really going to stand out. We're going to see what the 30th anniversary has set for us. But the best way to successfully put a better future, like to possibly retire. I hate saying the fact that they were talking about retirement, because in order to retire, I think the only person, like legit, the only person that's probably going to be able to retire from this is probably going to be like Pokerev, just because of his little business and his online presence. I think it's going to be Pokey from his business aspect. Like, he is doing fairly well. I mean, he is focusing a lot on sealed and reselling sealed. So, I mean, obviously that is helping him. But certain of these content creators, but I don't like Twice Baked Jake retiring using only Pokemon. Like, I don't think so. I think he'll be able to pay off his house. I think with his collection, he can pay off his house, and he absolutely should, right? But like, to say that you're retired, like, a lot of us aren't. And if you're thinking that you're gonna be able to retire using Pokemon, you're probably not going to be able to retire, because we really don't know what's going to be happening in the future. Also, another thing that a lot of you guys have to really start thinking about it is, like, you're going to end up having to pay taxes on this stuff. Just like, no, this is a cash only business, right? I can make this into only a cash only business, buy seal through cash, like move stuff through cash. Absolutely, right? But whenever you're going to plan of like buying a car, buying a house, and you put a big, huge amount into your bank account, that is going to that's going to cause a flag. Like, if you get a big gift, a big donation gift from someone, and you add it to your account, you eventually have to report it to the IRS, or you're going to get hit with those taxes. Are you guys really thinking about that? Are you saving enough to pay for taxes whenever you're adding all these amounts into your bank account? Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put it in jewelry and stuff like that. Absolutely. You can put it in jewelry. You can buy cars in cash. But still, it's going to come down. Like, it's going to come back down to you. So you guys got to be thinking about, okay, whatever amount I'm getting from this Pokemon hobby, if I'm selling sealed, if I'm selling some of the older slabs, or whatever it is, I hope you guys are putting some money aside from taxes, because there's no way you're not going to end up paying for it. And look, in one of the previous episodes, we were talking about, like, I told someone, you don't want the government getting involved. That's why I don't think it's in the best interest that this lawsuit with PSA, per se, for monopolization, really goes through. I think it's everyone's in the best interest that it doesn't happen, because the moment that this is the way I'm thinking about it. A lot of you are kind of, there's this thing that is happening with every single big content creator, like by sponsorships. It's like, oh yeah, track your collection using Collector, right? In order to use Collector, you need to sign in, register an email, whatnot. It's only a matter of time before these apps like Collector, Double Helix, whatever the other ones are, start selling your data. They start selling your data. You start seeing ads, so you pay extra so you can get like an ad blocker. But it's only a matter of time before they start selling your data. And who do you think they're going to be selling it to? They're going to be selling it to other companies, but I won't be surprised if the US government gives them a big contract to go ahead and sell them their data, and now all of a sudden they have everyone's emails, right, with their amount, their, I guess how you can say, unrealized gains, right? Because that's basically what it is. If you have a huge collection and you don't sell it, that's nothing but unrealized gains. But we've already had conversations that the government wanted to go ahead and tax people on the unrealized gains when it came to like stocks, index funds, cryptocurrency. And what makes you think they're not going to be going after collectibles? Especially if more people go away from investing in index funds, go away from investing in stocks, and they start going into something else where a lot of cash is moving. It's only going to be a matter of time before the US government, or before the government tries to find a way to go ahead and get us all to like pay taxes on the hobby that we are enjoying. On a hobby that honestly, it's a cards game. There's no reason why we should be paying taxes for the subjective value of these cards, because that's all it is. It's all subjective, right? These cards only as worth as someone is willing to pay for them, right? Whenever they're getting printed out of the Pokemon Center printing facilities, they're not getting printed out with Pokemon telling you with the Pokemon company telling you, oh, the Forest Chew, yeah, that's a $2,000 raw card. No, it's all secondary perception. It's all subjective perception. There is no objective value on that card except the ones that us collectors, scalpers, resellers, investor bros put on those cards, right? So it's only going to be a matter of time before they start trying to get their hands into that. And look, some of you guys are confident that you're going to be able to beat the government. Some of you guys will, some of you guys won't, right? But the ones that I will be really worried about would be these vendors who do a lot of these actions or transactions by cash. Because if the competitive scene or if the Pokemon scene keeps getting competitive, starts staying as competitive as it is, right? Especially, as people come in, people come out. Look, all these vendors don't always have the best interests of other competing vendors. They don't, right? I wouldn't be surprised if later on where you have other content creators talking about, hey, this person, this big content creator, this big vendor, right? Whatever you want, like give them a name, like this shop, right, is being investigated by the IRS through a tip from another vendor, from another shop, right? It's no longer that are they really worried about being broken into, being stolen, like being robbed at gunpoint. Now they're going to have to be worried about other vendors, other shops snitching on each other, right? Because most of us, or most of them, they're doing vending content. Like they're putting their face out there online, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram. TikTok used to be independently owned by another country. Now the government or US kind of controls TikTok in this portion of the hemisphere. Like, you get what I'm getting? You see where I'm getting at? It's like they have your face, they see your guys' transaction, these big value numbers, but how is this person not claiming these amounts in taxes? Because you're supposed to be claiming like transactions over a certain amount to the IRS, and you're supposed to pay taxes on them. How many of these vendors are they doing that? I can guarantee you that most of them aren't. Look, it's going to come down to a point where honestly, the best time in the hobby or the best time in anything that we were doing is whenever there was no smartphones, there was no cameras. And I've kind of debated this too, right? Because I thought about maybe getting some smart glasses to record as I'm doing buyer content or vending content too. But you're just kind of recording yourself and posting it online, any kind of, any kind of things that maybe the IRS would audit you, and you're putting the evidence online, right? You're trying to get monetized through all these other social media content, right? And yeah, that one's going to be easier. You can probably pay taxes on that, but paying, like, I can guarantee you a lot of people are not paying taxes on the small transactions that they have, small transactions that they're doing in person whenever they're doing cash app, Zelle, Venmo, whatever, right? So like retirement, like whenever we're looking at retirement in the Pokemon hobby, look, I don't think it's as easy as it is. I think also a lot of people are not prepared for the real world consequences, and I think it's only going to be a matter of time before we start hearing things where it's no longer about people getting robbed, but certain people being investigated by the IRS for not paying taxes. As much as braggadocious or as much as I think like Pokey can be, he has made content about things that you should probably be doing for whenever you're paying your taxes. Because yes, you can make some money, but the ones who are going to win the most out of this Pokemon boom, this Pokemon market, is not going to be the vendors. It's not going to be the content creators. It's going to be the government. Because one way or another, they're going to get their piece of the pie. You might not agree with me, and that's absolutely fine. I think you're wrong, and I really do stand by that. I think you guys are wrong thinking that you guys can beat the government. Look, I don't know how many times this happened to you, but it happens to me all the time where there's certain things that I'm thinking like, oh, I think I would want to buy that. I don't mention it to my friends. I don't mention it to my spouse. I never leave my word. but the ads for that item, that specific item, is coming up. Like, how is that even possible? Right? So, look, AI is getting smarter. Don't be surprised if the government's trying to use AI to make sure they have 100% surveillance on us at all time. And look, it's not going to be hard. We have devices everywhere that has a camera. Like everywhere. Our smartphones have cameras. We're getting glasses with cameras, right? So, look, the government is not as transparent as they want to claim that they'll be. They probably have access to all these cameras whenever they want to go ahead and activate them. So, what, even like me who has a kid, I don't have a Wi-Fi camera in my house. I still believe that somehow they have access to these cameras. I do. Like, whether if it's outside or inside my house, like, I really avoid having any cameras inside my house. But look, here I am talking to you using a smartphone. They know exactly how I look. I can go ahead and try to grow a mustache to change my identity, but I shave it every once in a while. They see me with a mustache, without a mustache, it doesn't matter. They're going to see you, right? Well, it's insane. So, like, retirement, look, I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to retire using Pokemon. I think a lot of people can go ahead and use Pokemon to knock out a lot of the big financial decisions that they have coming up, especially in our age group. We're talking about like kids, we're talking about housing, we're talking about maybe transportation, or even at this point we're talking about maybe like basic groceries. Like those things really matter. I do think that using Pokemon and even maybe like making it a cash transaction is a good way to go ahead and feed your family, just paying cash for everything else. But like I said, how many of these convenience stores have a self checkout with a camera looking at your face? Like, right? So, like, I'm telling you, I think like I miss the good old times where I knew there wasn't a camera always looking at me everywhere, right? So the point being is, look, don't get fooled by all these content creators saying that they're going to be able to retire from life, or they're going to be able to retire using Pokemon. It's going to be very far few in between. If you're going to try to retire and you're going to go with like Pokemon, you can do sealed. And if you're going to do cards like slabs, 100% like always, go with tag. But make sure that whenever you're grading with tag, do the score method and try to get the mintiest version of that card. You know, we're talking about the 990 points and above. 990, 91. And have we had a 1,000 point card yet? Have we had the perfect card yet? I don't think so. I haven't heard about it. But, you know, a perfect card is probably going to go for a good amount of money. The perfect card, regardless of the Pokemon. Because that is going to be the perfect card by AI grading or by grading in general. There's no way that PSA can go ahead and prove that. There's no way that Beckett can go ahead and prove that, because that's all subjective. But a data-driven company can go ahead and prove the, you know, the validity of a perfect card. Just saying. Look. And yeah, before we leave, this Pokemon Center ETB. Perfect order. A lot of people don't like perfect order, but I do see a lot of opportunity for you guys to get pieces like this for your collection, even if you guys don't think there's a huge upside. My friend, Scalper Chris, doesn't think that perfect order is anything worth it. But he sent us that he got lucky with a Pokemon restock, and sure enough, there was a Pokemon ETB of perfect order in there, as well as a booster bundle and then some other stuff. I was able to get that from my friend Robert at work, where I was able to trade him just a regular Mew from the 151 UPC, the pink Mew with the town promo card. We did a trade 1-for-1. He was okay with that, and like, yeah, of course I gave him like a little card extra, but I got a Pokemon Center ETB. It goes good with my Ascended Hero Pokemon Center ETB. It's going to go fantastic with my Chaos Rising Pokemon Center ETBs, right? But these items are kind of some of the bigger items, the bigger collectibles, but they're not going to be guaranteed anymore to get them at MSRP. You're going to have to get lucky getting them through like the lottery system that Pokemon Center is going to implement. Which leads me to this point. if people are running away from a certain product, maybe you should run to that product and buy it at a discounted and marked down price. The only one that's really going to win is you, because you're buying it close to MSRP, you're buying it low, and the only thing that's really going to do it, it's going to go up. And let's say everything crashes. Well, at the very least, you're not going to take a humongous hit as if you're buying stuff from the secondary market. Outside from that, I really do hope you guys had a fantastic day. I'm sorry for the delay, but I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.